Well, I had a travel agency, an Irish travel agency called Round Tower Travel, and we advertised on the Will Regan show for years and years and years. And then Will died in about '95, so the show went off the air for a few weeks, and I just basically called the radio station and said, "What's going on with the show?" Because I wanted the ad to come back on, and they said they were interviewing people for the opening, and I kind of said, "Can I have an interview too?" And they took me up to Cawley's, up on Westchester Pike, and we had an interview. And they said, "Get me a show together, taped on cassette tapes by this Saturday, and then we'll see from there." So that's since '95. That was it. I've been doing it since. They just had the opening, and it just happened.
Cassette tapes?
Cassette tapes for since '95 up until about 3 months ago. Cassette tapes. We just got onto the computer finally. Much easier on the computer. Just email the show in every Thursday, and then it's on Saturdays noon to 2. It was harder, obviously, because we were operating not only taping on cassette tapes, but from cassette tapes. A lot of my music was on cassette tapes. So you have to rewind, find the beginning of the song, get it ready for the next. But we could, with cassette tapes, we could pause all the time, so we had all the time in the world. But at the beginning, it was taking 3.5 to 4 hours to do a 2-hour show. And then, of course, the CDs came along, and that made it a little easier. Just the better the equipment, the easier it is. Now it's simple. Now it's a 2-hour show. Pretty much takes 2 hours, even though we're still taping it. But it's a computer, so I do 4 half-hour segments, email 4 of them in, and it works great. You would never know. And when I do the show, I do it as if it's live on a Saturday. Just talking like I'm there live. I'll say, "Hey, it's 1 o'clock here," and the Delaware Valley. I'm just assuming it is because I'm done an hour. It's kind of like it's a nice hobby. It's good way to get in touch with your roots and keep a lot of the music alive, and the music's so much history in it. I love the Rebel songs and all that, so you learn more and more every year. People send you stuff like you'll see over there on the side. There's a stack of albums. A guy just dropped off at my office some old record albums with stories of the songs that I don't always know, but after you read about them, then you throw that in there. This song's about. You learn a lot about Irish history that way, like the Rebel songs, the heroes of Ireland, things like that, the famine, the Bloody Sunday, things like that, the history of it. So a lot of those songs I like, and it's good for me too. You get to meet a lot of people, and I do a lot of Irish tours with Westminster Travel where I work, and so people know that I'm a travel agent from it, and so you get the Irish tours. That plays hand in hand, and then I'm in an Irish band called Round Tower, so they hear that we're in an Irish band, and here and there they'll say, "Hey, are you free this date?" So you get a few gigs a year out of it or something. But it's mostly I do it just because I love Irish music, and now I'm hooked on it. So every week it's the same old thing. I do the same thing every week, and get to listen to 2 hours of Irish music uninterrupted from my kids and wife down here in the basement. Since I've always, because of the ones I heard growing up, a lot of were the Wolf Tones, Clancy Brothers, the Dubliners, Dublin City Ramblers. I always go back to them, and even locally, Blackthorn. I mean, I play a decent amount of Blackthorn. I mean, they've been around for so long too, and even though I'm as older than most of them, I grew up with some of those guys. So I play their songs, and just listening to that. I play some Vince Gallagher even, and there's a band called Athenry that I like. So all that stuff that you heard growing up, and some of the stuff that you heard since I got the show. But yeah, I always end up back at you can always depend on at least 1 or 2 Wolf Tones songs per show, and some Clancy Brothers all the time. Can't get away from those. They have great versions of some of those old Rebel songs and the silly songs and things like that. So I do go back to them. Oh yeah, I pretty much did come out of nowhere. I really have met most of the people in the Irish community since I've got this show. Like an example, like we said, Vince Gallagher. I didn't know Vince, never met him before until this. Now I'm buddies with him, and I knew Mary O'Kane, who just passed away. She went to school with my mother, but I didn't meet her until I got the radio show, and all the folks up at the Irish Center, Mayo Society, Donegal Society, all those guys, and everybody's been great. I mean, and I tell a story when I first got the show. I just wanted to make sure I did it right, and people wanted to hear what I was playing. I didn't want to annoy them, So I called Joe McFadden, Bishop McFadden. He wasn't a bishop at the time, but he was, he was always a family, a friend, and he loved the Irish music. And so I said, what should I play? He goes, play the ballads, don't do the Caleys all the time, because the Sunday shows do that, more of that. So I kind of like to differentiate. I play pretty much all ballads and things that people can sing along to while they're in the kitchen or doing their chores and things like that. But that's what Bishop McFadden said. He said, play that kind of stuff. People love that. So, he was always, the first couple of years I would always call him, see what he thought, because he used to listen all the time when he was around. But, things like that, like, I didn't really know anybody in the Irish community like I do now. Like, now I know a lot of people. I've made some good friends in the Irish community because of the show, really. When we bought this Irish travel agency, I guess it was the late 80s, Round Tower Travel in Drexel Hill, they already had an ad in place with him every Saturday. They said, you have to keep this ad on. The people call as soon as Will says, call Round Tower Travel right now for your charter flights to Ireland. So I got to know Will through that. So I would be calling him. He said, hey, Mike, if you ever want to change your ad and all that. So I kind of got to be friendly with him that way, just through being an advertiser. And then when he passed away, his wife, Winnie, she actually called me and she said, actually not when he passed away, when she was moving out of her house, I should say, in Clifton Heights, she called me and she said, Mike, come over and go through Will's collection of music and take whatever you want. So I went into her house and over in Clifton Heights, over in St. Eugene's Parish, and just all over the walls were tapes, mostly cassette tapes. There wasn't too many CDs, but I got a lot of good music from there too, a lot of the local stuff. It had been picked through already by family members and some friends, but she had me go through. She gave me old microphones and things like that. It was neat because I had only met him personally a couple times, but you felt like you knew him because I was talking to him on the phone once a month about the ad or whatever. He said he would tell me to change it up. What do you want me to say this week? What do you want me to say this? But he was live. Will was live on every Saturday noon to 2, which is to me I would think that's a little tougher. Even though I tape it live, if I do really screw up bad, I can go back and go over it. Whereas if you're live and you say somebody's 111 years old and you read it wrong and they're really just ill, then you're that's an old Irish joke, by the way, but that happens all the time with those radio shows. That's a joke over in Ireland. There's a lot of those shows, and they get the older fellas are up there telling their stories or saying the news of the day, and they get it wrong. But I can rewind if I get it wrong.